Hi guys, rachaelcpr here, and today I'm going to show you a quick demo of exactly how I make my flaxseed gel with Irish moss in it. It's very simple because I actually separate my recipe this way. I don't put many of my oils and things like that inside of my gel. I actually make a separate spray gel, a spray mixture called aloe tea that I use to put the oils in my hair, only because the oils, some of the oils will make it so that the gel doesn't set as thick, and I'm trying to make the gel as thick as possible so I stop losing so much of it. So I start off with 3 cups of water. This is a tablespoon of marshmallow root, a 1/4 cup of flax seeds. This is a 1/2 teaspoon of the Irish moss. And this is a 1/4 teaspoon of cinnamon. This is definitely an option if your hair is sensitive to cinnamon, if you've ever used it in your hair. I know some people use it to lighten their hair over time. I'm not sure if that really works or not, as much as I haven't noticed any lightening in my hair. But this is something that neutralizes the smell of the Irish moss. Although I found out that even if you don't put this into the mixture, once everything is cooled in the fridge, it actually neutralizes the smell on its own, so you don't necessarily need this. I just like this for when it's cooking. I may not put all of this in it, you really just need a pinch. But anyway, this is an option. So the first thing that I'm going to do is, of course, I'm going to bring my flax seeds to a boil in the 3 cups of water. And generally speaking, on the internet, you'll find that this recipe calls for 2 cups of water for flaxseed gel, but because I am increasing the amount of things inside of it that have mucilage in it, I want to dry everything out, so I want it to be able to boil a little bit longer. And I normally boil between 20-25 minutes, sometimes even a half an hour. So I'm just going to put all of these things right into the water before I put it onto the stove. I don't think it makes a difference. The only thing about boiling the Irish moss powder, if you use the leaves, the dried leaves, you don't have this issue. But when using the powder, I like to sprinkle it across the top of the mixture so that it's not in big clumps. Because if it's in big clumps, you have to go through and you have to break up the clumps. So this I am going to put on my fire. And I'm going to let that come to a boil for about maybe 2 minutes. And once it comes to a boil, it starts to rapidly boil. It's going to start to boil over. That's when I'm just going to give it a good mix, and I'm going to reduce the heat and let it simmer for the next 2 minutes. So while we're waiting for that to boil, I would just like to talk about some of the other things that I need in making this product. I have a strainer that I use. I use a metal strainer because the whole thing with this Irish moss is it really thickens up the whole thing, and your gel will be a lot thicker. You have to strain it right away, or else it will be too thick to go through the strainer. But if you are using the leaves, the Irish moss leaves, the dried leaves, you may have to double strain it. And so then I have this double strainer that has a more tightly woven weave that you strain it through, because I find that the leaves get through this strainer right here. So, but once I strain it the first time, I strain it with this right here with the Irish moss leaves, and then I heat up what I've strained, and I go through it again. You are using the powder, you don't have that problem. You can strain it once with the big strainer because the powder does dissolve in the mixture. So from here, I just get my bowl ready to strain it into. You definitely want to have something that is heat resistant because it will be very hot. And so this is what I'm using. I'm using a glass measuring bowl and my measuring cup. My strainer fits right on top. And what I like about having this nice big strainer is I can use the whole surface and not just one small section. I used to have a really small one, and I could only use that little tiny section, and so it kept filling up. I didn't have time to actually let it sit and do what it's supposed to do. So I'll be back once I have a full boil. Okay, so I'm back, and it was actually only 15 minutes because with this small batch that I'm making, it didn't take as long as I expected it to. Bubbling. Let me just turn this down a little. Okay. And like I I said, I like to use the entire surface of this thing. Okay, and so from here, what I do is I just take my big spoon and I work it all around. So this is what I end up with. This is piping hot, so it's not as thick as it's going very hot stage. You can already see where it's hugging the inside of the glass container. And this is normally the consistency that I get with the plain flaxseed gel. This is normally what I will get. So we're going to give this some time to thicken up. If you can, then we'll be back again. And see the consistency of it. You see how thick it is. Close. See that?
Okay.
See how thick the gel is once you put the Irish moss in there? It's a very, very thick consistency, and I really like this because this is great for your edges to really smooth them down.